Jean Pascal upsets Marcus Browne, winning via technical decision in 8 rounds, dropping Marcus Browne 3 times en route to becoming the new WBA interim world light heavyweight champion. Now, to me, this is the biggest upset of the year. And I'm not talking about betting odds, because upsets ultimately are predicated on expectations. So when it comes to betting odds, of course, AJ versus Ruiz is a much bigger upset than this. But from my own personal perspective, I felt as though there was a much greater chance of an upset in the AJ Ruiz fight going into that fight than I thought there was going into this Marcus Browne Jean Pascal fight. I wrote Pascal off. You know, this is not a young guy like Andy Ruiz. This is an old guy. 36 years old, veteran, been around, been in a lot of tough fights, hasn't been winning his big fights in recent years. I thought Pascal was done. This is a guy who retired fairly recently. Marcus Browne, on the other hand, he's in his prime, right? At least his athletic prime. He's coming off that great win over Badou Jack, which was kind of his coming out party. And I felt Marcus Browne was improving a lot even before the Badou Jack fight. So going into this fight, I felt like Pascal might have had, 20% chance, 30% chance at best. I did not expect Jean Pascal to be coming out the winner in this fight. That definitely surprised me massively. Now, the way the fight played out, it was interesting. Marcus Browne, if you watch him when he fought Thomas Williams Jr., or if you watch him when he fought Badou Jack, he was quite nervy in both those fights. And I wondered whether the nerves were actually playing against him. Obviously, he won both those fights and won them well. But I felt like maybe he could have performed even better at an even higher level if he'd been a bit more relaxed in both those fights. But the way this fight played out here against Jean Pascal, it's made me question that a little bit. Because in those fights, as I say, Williams Jr. and Badou Jack, he was very jittery both times, very nervy, but he was punching with a lot of conviction. You know, whenever he would throw shots, he was really throwing you to sting you or hurt you with shots. But against Jean Pascal, he was a lot more relaxed. And normally in boxing, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but normally in boxing, being relaxed is the best thing for you. You want to be relaxed, you want to be nice and calm. But with Marcus Browne, maybe he's one of those guys who doesn't need to be too relaxed, at least not when he's up against a Jean Pascal. Pascal, this is an oversight on my behalf. Pascal has an excellent record against southpaws. Okay, he's beaten the likes of Chad Dawson and Lucien Boutte in the past. Excellent record against southpaws. Continues that excellent record against southpaws here, taking Marcus Browne's undefeated record, taking his own. Pascal has always been a very spirited fighter. So, he's got heart and he fights with a lot of passion. When he opens up, he really goes for it. Pascal's always been like that. He's a cagey veteran now, of course. He was waiting for his spots against Browne. Browne was very relaxed, maybe a little cautious, but relaxed in his movements. Okay, I'm not saying he went out there and he was so relaxed, he was just letting his hands go left, right, and center. No, I think from what I saw in the other 2 fights I spoke about, Browne tends to throw more punches when he's nervous. Yeah, some fighters are like that. When they're nervous, they'll start throwing loads of shots. Browne, in this fight, I think, to me, he looked more relaxed. His movements looked more relaxed, but he was more cautious. He wasn't throwing his hands as much in the first couple rounds anyway. It was kind of a feeling out period. He hurt Pascal in the third, but Pascal, from the very opening bell, just to backtrack a little bit, Pascal was landing nice right hands to the body. And I think those right hands to the body were stinging Marcus Browne. And those right hands to the body, I think, later set up the right hand to the head, which Pascal had a lot of success with. He dropped Marcus Browne a total of 3 times 2 times with the exact same punch, this looping right hook. And yeah, he was going with the right hand to the body, scored with it in the first round quite a lot, second round. In the third round, Marcus Browne appeared to hurt Pascal, or at least stun him. He was having his way, doing his thing. And once he started opening up more, obviously it left opportunities for Pascal to counter. And that's exactly what he did in the fourth round when Marcus Browne, left hand a little low, out of position. You see, you have to watch what your opponent is doing. It's not just about what you're doing. You have to watch what he's doing. You have to watch his positioning. Yeah? Where is he? Can he get certain shots off from that position? Jean Pascal is a guy who likes to throw looping shots a lot of the time. And he caught Marcus Browne with a looping right hand over the top, bang on the chin. Browne went down heavily, got up very quickly. I know Lennox Lewis on the PBC broadcast said that he got up too quickly and he should have stayed down and cleared his head a little bit. But in retrospect, he managed to survive. So I guess it wasn't too quickly, but I definitely take Lennox's point on that. He got up, he survived the round, and he boxed his way back into the fight. It looked as though he was going to start outboxing. The commentary team were acting as though Browne was head and shoulders above Pascal when it came to boxing skills. And going into the fight, I would have thought so. But the way the fight played out, I didn't think that Pascal was getting his head boxed off or anything like that against Browne. I thought Browne lacked conviction in his jab. He wasn't really throwing it with the kind of authority that you want to see. He was landing some nice hooks and straight shots here and there, landed a couple good body shots. But Pascal was in it all the way. Pascal was on top of Browne a lot of the time. He was landing that right hand to the body. He at no point did I feel as though Pascal was, as I say, just getting outboxed and outfoxed. No, he looked like a guy who knew what he was doing. He had that fighting spirit, that energy, and in fact, he was the more spirited of the two fighters. Browne seemed very relaxed. Pascal seemed kind of edgy, like he wanted to get in there and get the big shots on. So I feel like, yeah, you could have given Browne some of the slow rounds, but they were close. But then in the 7th round, lightning struck again towards the very, very end of the 7th round. The exact same punch in the exact same position that dropped Browne in the 4th, dropped Browne again. Jean Pascal with a big right hook, bang on Browne's chin. Really, at this level, you can't be making that same mistake over and over again. You have to be adjusting and correcting your mistakes. But Browne didn't correct his mistake, got caught with the same shot again. Down he went in an almost identical fashion, got up and he was wobbling around just like he was from the first shot. To be fair, even though he went down heavy and he was definitely hurt, he wasn't out of it. His body wasn't reacting the way you'd want your body to react, obviously, being wobbly, but his eyes seemed fairly clear. His eyes weren't glazed over or anything. It wasn't totally out of it. He went down again at the end of the 7th after getting up off the canvas. He was kind of overwhelmed by a barrage from Pascal rather than being desperately hurt from the second knockdown. It's just kind of overwhelmed and bundled to the floor, but it was called a knockdown. So, crisis there for Browne. Comes out in the 8th round, and yeah, in the 8th, a headbutt or a clash of heads, happens. I know they pointed out early in the fight that Pascal was deliberately doing some dirty things with his head, and he was certainly reckless with his head when it came to this head clash in the 8th, but to call it a deliberate headbutt, I don't know. It didn't look blatant. It wasn't like when Vladimir Klitschko headbutted Tyson Fury, or when Victor Ortiz headbutted Floyd Mayweather. Those were like blatant headbutts, where the guy's shoving his head up into the guy's face, trying to injure him. This wasn't like that. It looked just more like a standard clash of heads because Pascal being a shorter guy, you have to keep your chin down when you come in close. And if your chin's down and the other guy's taller than you and you're coming in close to attack the body or whatever, well, a lot of the time your forehead is going to be in the other guy's face. It doesn't mean it's intentional. And in this instance, it was, and it was in Marcus Browne's face, Pascal's forehead. Pascal got quite a nasty swelling, nasty bruise on his forehead from the clash of heads too. Marcus Browne's eye unzipped like a purse, right, on impact. I mean, if you see the slow motion, it's pretty graphic. Yeah, where the clash of heads happens and you can see this gaping wound above Marcus Browne's eye immediately open on the head clash. And yeah, the fight was stopped on the back of that head clash. It went to the scorecards because, a certain number of rounds had been completed and Jean Pascal was declared the winner. So yeah, a world champion of sorts. Once again at the age of 36, when I'd certainly written him off. I think a lot of people have written him off. He might have written himself off previous to now because he retired from boxing not too long ago. I think he might have retired a couple times. I forget now. But yeah, here we are. Jean Pascal back on top of things. Will there be a rematch with Marcus Browne? We'll see. I would have to imagine that Pascal would rather go and fight one of the other champions, maybe Beterbiev. That could be a guy that Pascal would like to target. He's already been in there with Kovalev, obviously. It didn't work out too well. He's been in there with Bivol. That didn't work out. Or maybe Gvozdyk. So there's Gvozdyk and there's Beterbiev there. I'm sure Pascal would love to have a crack at either one of those guys. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Were you as shocked as I was? Maybe some of you weren't. Maybe some of you looked at the fact that Pascal does have a good record against southpaws, and maybe you felt like Marcus Browne was a touch overrated. I know Browne has been on the floor before and he's had a controversial win on his record before, but so have many fighters. There are people from Floyd Mayweather who had the controversial win against Castillo first time around. I mean, Riddick Bowe on the way up had a controversial win over Tony Tubbs. So there's a lot of fighters that have controversial wins and they go on to be top quality fighters or great fighters. So I wasn't looking at that controversial win that Browne had earlier in his career and thinking, oh, okay, this guy's a hype job and he can't really do anything. No. I thought this guy is really talented. And so when he beat Badou Jack, I wasn't surprised. Yeah, I knew this guy was a very, very talented individual. But I was surprised by this. I was very surprised. Let me know how you felt about it. But I certainly did not see this one coming whatsoever. I thought that Marcus Browne would not have that many issues with Jean Pascal. I thought like he'd win. I thought he'd win a comfortable points decision or maybe stop Pascal late. But to get dropped 3 times and yeah, shocking to me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.